Chapter 5, verses 1 to 12. At that time, seeing the crowds, Jesus went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. The Gospel of the Lord. Dear friends in Christ Jesus, at the outset I would like to wish all of you a happy feast. It's a feast that we need to celebrate. We are celebrating the sanctity of our ancestors, and we need to also celebrate people who are living with us, living saints, our parents, the elders, some people who sacrifice everything for our benefits, for our comfort. All these people need to be considered as saints, and it's a calling for all of us that we need to also live a life of sanctity. And the readings of today is vast in the sense of its meaning. It will need a lot more time to deal on each of this passage, and we can go on reflecting on it, but I would like to just highlight the key points here for our reflection. Maybe later on, when we have an opportunity to reflect on the text in depth, maybe we can reflect on them. Today's first reading from the book of Revelation. Very often there is a myth around this book of Revelation. People think, okay, book of Revelation has got a lot of imageries. Yes, it has got a lot of hidden meanings, sometimes very scary. A lot of beasts come here, and people talk about the end of the earth, the apocalypse, unveiling of events, unveiling of meanings, and people really don't get the real meaning out of it, and very many of them are skeptical, some are scared, some of them have their own opinions, and there are a lot of novels, a lot of movies also are made or written, and people have different opinions on this particular book of Revelation. My dear friends, book of Revelation has to be understood in the right context and the right light. The author, our beloved, the beloved disciple, the apostle of Jesus himself, St. John, he has written it so beautifully, and we have to understand both the form as well as the content of this particular book. And this book, when it was written for the people of that time. I'm sure people of that time did understand the meaning of it without much of difficulty, because the author did not have us as the audience, but even today the text has very strong, very rich meaning, and we need to understand why so much of imagery, so much of visions, and people, especially those who make films, this is a beautiful text because full of visions. It is beautifully written in the form, in a way. St. John says, I, John, who see this, he sees things. It's like a screenplay, beautifully written. And why is it written this way? Because of a reason. And people infer from the text, yes, we have to choose between Jesus and the emperor. And more or less people try to find out whether it is a time of Nero or the time of Domitian, because people have to remain faithful in the time of persecution. When we analyze the text, it comes mostly at the time of Domitian, but both had this problem. Both Nero and Domitian really wanted people to consider them as gods, though there was no specific edict that was proclaimed that all people have to venerate them and worship them as emperors, but that the practice was there. And at least they were very clear that the time of Domitian, there was a huge statue erected behind an altar in a particular temple, and people did venerate him. There was a cultic practice of venerating and worshipping the emperor. So do you choose emperor or do you choose God? And people who were failing to worship the emperor were considered as traitors. It had the whole text has political and social dimensions. Very beautifully crafted text. When you read the book of Daniel, yes, the whole book of Daniel is written during the time of the Epiphanes, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, who was the beast, the emperor who was persecuting the book of Maccabees. All these were written at that point of time. So the book of Daniel, when it was written for the people of that time to remain faithful during the time of persecution. So also the book of Revelation is written to invite people to remain faithful, and it has lots and lots of imageries. I think I'll be happy if I have an opportunity to go through the whole full book of Revelation with you. Maybe God permits, time permits, we can actually go through chapter by chapter. Maybe these are all the ideas that I have. I don't know whether I will be able to fulfill it, but to go through this, like the numbers, say number 3 is used. It talks about totality, Trinity. And number 4, it talks about universality, and it is number 4 is used 29 times here in the book of Revelation. And book of 7, which again talks about totality, the fullness, it is used 54 times in the book. And number 10 talks about the multiples, and it talks about the hugeness. And there are colors that are being used in this whole text in the book of Revelation. The color of a rainbow, which talks about the heavenly glory, this color of white, the color of scarlet, the color of red, and black. Of course, black denotes tragedy, red denotes violence, scarlet and purple denotes lust, luxury, kingship. So we have lots of these meanings, and we have also the wise men, the senior person, the angels, the woman, the prostitute, the beast, the lamb. Lots and lots of imageries. It's a beautiful text to go through and understand the meaning, and it is strengthening the people, strengthening the faithful to remain faithful to God. Remain faithful. Don't give up. Don't give up on faith. And people were also waiting for this whole parousia. So it is not a book that is talking about the destruction of the world, end of the world. It's going, God is going to destroy, God is going to bring down everything, the whole world is coming to an end. All the time we have been given a different picture about this book of Revelation. It's a beautiful book which we need to really read and cherish and look at it as a film, look at it as a vision, as John himself had, and it is strengthening our faith. Even today, with all the difficulties that we as Christians are going through, or we are going to go through, this book will still make a lot of meaning for us. We have to remain faithful. Come what may, whatever political unrest that we may experience, whatever social unrest, cultural issues, still we need to be faithful to our God, to Jesus Christ. And even today's very specifically, it talks about the 7 seals. The first 4 and the 5th is a very key seal, which is a very important seal. And then 6th and 7th, and today we talk about the 7th seal, which is opened, and we see this number 144,000. It is said it is 12 into 12 into 1,000. 12, of course, we know it denotes the 12 tribes. 12 also it denotes the 12 apostles, and 1,000 it talks about the large number, how these chosen ones will not perish. And the bigger number, much more bigger, only says church is going to be universal. Many more people are going to come in. Don't worry about persecution. Even if you have to give your life, give it happily, because your blood will make you pure. The red will change into white. This is a beautiful way of strengthening people. My dear friends, we can go on this. And gospel today, the Beatitudes, which we have already reflected once, gospel passage today is a beautiful indication that Jesus gives, saying, if you go through the Beatitudes and follow it and remain faithful, be with God, you will, it's only, this is actually, the whole of book of Revelation is actually asking people to follow the Beatitudes. And when I follow the Beatitudes, I remain faithful to God, and I'm going to be very, very charitable with my fellow brethren, with so much of stress given on the justice and righteousness. When I do this, when I follow these Beatitudes, when I'm going to remain faithful during all the times of persecution, persecution does not mean it is only an external persecution. It's also the temptations that I'm going through. The whole media today, how it influences, how the trends of today, maybe into addictions, different types of addictions, all these things challenge my faith. Even the neoliberalism, or even the thought that is actually going on today, people are talking about, everyone is talking about, even the books that are being written today is about the self-actualization, self-actualization, self-actualization. Yes, self-actualization, but at the end of it, what? You actualize the best of you and lose yourself. God. So much of misleading, even a lot of motivation speakers, what are they motivating us for? Towards achieving something in my personal life, making money, making name and fame. Yes, at the end of it, what am I going to achieve if I'm going to lose my soul? The holistic life, I'm going to miss it if I'm going to be only concentrating towards my own self. With all these different trends of thoughts that are going on, lots of pull and push from various sides, if I can remain faithful to God. And it is very easy, and all that we need to do is to follow the Beatitudes. Dear friends, you and I can also attain sanctity, and we will be part of this 144,000. And yes, this is a great invitation, and if I have this urge, we can wish each other happy feast of All Saints' Day.